Hello and welcome to Dear Diaries, Her Story, where we explore extraordinary journeys of Christian women touched by the Most High. I'm your host, Rosa B. Theoc, and in each episode we'll uncover stories of faith, resilience, and the undeniable presence of God in everyday life. Whether you're tuning in for inspiration, guidance, or simply to share these moments of grace, you're in the right place. So let's open these diaries together and see where faith leads us today.
A TV show.
You are on a TV show, honey.
Alright. Hi, my name is Karla and welcome to Dear Diaries. Today I have the opportunity to share my story. God has been really pressing on me to share this with anyone and everyone who will want to listen. It came in a perfect time that my sister Rosa B came to me and asked me if I wanted to do this, and I felt like it was just right, knowing that God has been pressing me to share this on a social media platform. I'm Karla. I'm 34 years old. I am married for 8 years now, or 7. I have a 2-year-old daughter. I'm a stay-at-home mom. This past year, I went through my first miscarriage. It was a very painful time. We found out we were pregnant in July of 2019. It was kind of a silly story, funny story, because that month that I became pregnant, I had told my best friend, oh, let's do a pregnancy pact. Let's get pregnant together. Come on, because we were like in sync with our period, so we knew when we were gonna ovulate, so we're like, let's do it, let's get pregnant together. And I said it just like that. And then I remember a couple days later, I go, when as a mother, you go through these days where you have difficult days with your kids, where you're like, I don't want no more kids, or I'm done, or I can't, everybody has those days. So I had one of those days that I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I could do another one. So I went back to my best friend. I said, forget the pregnancy pact. I'm out, I'll wait a little bit longer. So, and the whole thing is that I didn't know I was pregnant until she called me and she asked me, she's like, did you get your period? Like I said, we were both in sync, so we both knew, our cycle. She was, did you get your period? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, let me check, because I don't know. I wasn't really in tune. I'm a type of person that's very in tune with my body. I know when I'm supposed to get my period. I know, I know the signs of it. I'm in tune with my body. So for some reason during that time, I was very occupied. My husband was home, and so we were doing things. So I got kind of didn't think about it. So when she asked me, I was like, oh my God, you know what? I haven't looked, but let me look at my app. And when I looked, I was 1 day late. I was like, oh my God, I'm a day late. I'm like, okay, I'll wait till tomorrow. The following day, I was like, oh my God, I could be pregnant. I took a test, and sure enough, I was pregnant. My first reaction was, I immediately started to cry. And I don't know if any other women out there that have multiple, kids felt this way or feel this way at times, but for me was my first, I was happy, but at the same time I was like, oh my God, I'm like, am I gonna love my first, my Victoria, my daughter, as the same? Am I gonna have enough time for her to, that was my thought. But obviously overall I was happy. I was like, I can't believe we're gonna have another baby, oh my God. So all the emotions came, we were so happy. The whole pregnancy was kind of normal. I had very similar symptoms to my first pregnancy. What happened this pregnancy was that I had changed insurance, so I wasn't able to go to my regular OBGYN that I had for my previous pregnancy, so I had to look for another doctor. Now, being a first-time patient, they wouldn't see me till I was about 10 weeks. That's a long time. If you're pregnant, that's a long time to wait to see your baby for the first time. So for me, it was like, oh my God, I can't wait 10 weeks. I want to see my baby. So I remember scheduling an ultrasound at a place, where they have those 3D ultrasounds. And I went there at 7 weeks and a couple of days. I think I was 7 weeks and 3 or 2 days. And I went with my best friend. My best friend came with me because my husband at the time was working and he wasn't in town. So she came with me for support, and thank God she did, because when we got there, they were gonna do the ultrasound and everything, and they couldn't see anything. So I started panicking. I was like, oh my God. My best friend's like, don't worry, it's normal, you need to drink a lot of water. So I went, the lady said, go back, go drink water, come back. So I'm there jugging water to make sure that they see something. We went back and I saw my baby. I saw a strong heartbeat. It was like 155, I believe. And I remember saying, oh, it's gonna be a girl. And my best friend's like, how do you know? You don't know that. I'm like, I know. And then she's like, and I was so happy. It was so happy to know that I saw my baby. The heartbeat was strong. And I was like, man, okay, we have a baby. I left there for some reason, not for some reason, I know it was God. God was preparing me for what was coming next, because this pregnancy, even though the symptoms were the same, it was like I had like fear. Like I knew something was gonna be like, I took over like 11 pregnancy tests over that 8 weeks that I knew that I was pregnant. I took over 11. It's like every day, it's like it was just confirming, like, am I pregnant? Am I pregnant? And it was like, looking back, it was like, I don't know what was going on, if God was preparing me or there was fear. You know, obviously fear wasn't me, because I just feared that there was somehow the pregnancy wasn't going to be there. So I kept on taking pregnancy tests. I remember the day before I found out I had a miscarriage, I was laying in bed and I was praying over my baby. I was like, God, please let it be everything okay. Let this baby come to full term. And I remember my prayer throughout this whole 8 weeks was, let me have a full term baby. That was my prayer. For some reason, I don't know why it was, but I know God, I don't know. It's like, it's crazy, because I look back with my first pregnancy, my prayer was always, we're going to have a healthy baby. I used to declare every day, I used to say it every day, and with this pregnancy, it was like, we're going to have a full-term baby. That night, something was off. I remember I put my daughter to sleep. I went downstairs, I started picking up her her toys and stuff like that, and I grabbed her favorite stuffed animal, which is a horse. And I grabbed it, and it was like a sense of missing something. And it was like I grabbed it and I'm like, oh, I miss you so much. And I'm like, I caught myself, I'm like, why am I saying that? I'm like, and I'm thinking, my daughter's upstairs sleeping, why are you missing, like, this is her toy, like, why are you missing her? She's upstairs. But it was like I said, God was preparing me. I put the toy down, I went upstairs, and I remember the night I prayed, and God spoke to me, and he said, basically, if it does happen, I just need you to, like, take a break. And what he meant is, like, take a break from social media, take a break, like, and I was like, at that moment when he said that, I was like, no, God. I was like, no, I rebuke that. I cancel that. I'm going to have this baby, and everything's gonna be okay. That night, I had a sharp pain that it woke me up in my stomach, and I didn't want to think the worst, but I'm like, that's not normal. The following day, I wake up, I go to the bathroom, and I saw blood. And I knew it wasn't normal. I knew something was wrong. At that moment, my husband wasn't home. He was in like an hour away from where we live, doing a job. So I called my best friend, and I'm like, I need to go to the hospital. I'm bleeding. I don't know what it is. I think something's wrong. She's like, don't worry. Everything's gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. It happens. It's normal. But I knew that something was wrong. We went to the hospital. You go through the whole process. Finally, I'm in front of the ultrasound, getting an ultrasound done, and I could tell the face of the person doing the ultrasound. And I knew something was wrong. They couldn't tell me anything. I asked him, can you please tell me? They're like, no, you have to wait till the doctor. I had a second person come and do an ultrasound on me. And at that point, I knew something was wrong. I started crying. I asked the lady again, can you please tell me if something, I said, if everything's okay. She's like, I'm sorry, I can't tell you. And then I remember as I'm walking out, she grabbed my shoulder. She's like, "You're gonna be okay." And I knew at that moment that something was wrong. So then we went back to the waiting room to wait for the doctor to come see me. So when he comes, he tells me, "Do you want me to tell you the news in front of," I had my best friend there. Her mom was there at the moment because she was with her mom at the time when I called her. And I said, "No, I would rather go to a private area." So we went to a private area, and he told me, unfortunately, the baby has no heartbeat and had stopped developing at 8 weeks and 3 days. And at that moment, I was just so shocked. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I think as a woman, if you go through this, your first instinct is to blame yourself. Like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Did I do something that I shouldn't have done? But I start thinking, and I'm the type that I always take care of myself. And I, especially if I know I'm pregnant, I'm going to like try to eat healthy and stuff like that. And I'm like, God, I didn't do anything. I was taking my prenatals. I was, not eating crazy, not eating whatever I was supposed to do, whatever. Automatically, I think you want to blame something, right? So for me, it wasn't myself because I knew that I didn't do anything wrong. Like, I had stopped working out. I had taken it easy. I'm O positive in my blood type. And what that means is that every time I have a pregnancy, I have to get this shot, the RH shot. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's a shot that you take for your antibodies. So basically, your antibodies does not attack the fetus in case that fetus has a different blood type. So I had that done with my daughter at 28 weeks, and then they're supposed to give it to you once you deliver, so that the next pregnancy that you have will be a normal pregnancy. So automatically, I said, oh, that's it. I didn't get the shot when I delivered Victoria. I don't remember, I didn't get it. So I started blaming the doctor. I started blaming, that's why this happened, This is why I lost my baby. Once I was there, that was my first thing that I blamed. I went through the process again. They gave me the shot because they're supposed to give it to you once you deliver. If you have a miscarriage or you have an abortion, they have to give you the shot. So I got the shot. They told me to go back to my doctor once and then go to my doctor's office to see what's the next step to take. By that time, that was on a Thursday. Monday was my first prenatal visit, which would have made me 10 weeks. It was actually, instead of being my first prenatal, it was a visit to see what was the next step to do to get rid of my baby that was still inside of me. It was an emotional day. I remember going into the doctor's office and seeing all these pregnant ladies and seeing them with their ultrasound looking so happy, and knowing that wasn't the case for me, that I was there to see what I needed to do to pass the baby, basically. So when I went to the doctor, they did another ultrasound to make sure that, what the hospital said was correct. And there again, I saw my baby. And it was there, just no heartbeat. So the next step was to decide which way I wanted to go. I mean, I don't judge anybody. Everybody has their way of doing things. For me, personally, I wanted to do it the most natural way. I couldn't bear the thought of a machine sucking my baby out. I couldn't. I saw my baby with a heartbeat. It was life. And I just couldn't wrap that around my mind. And if you went through something like that, then let me tell you, if I could do it again, I would probably go that route now, thinking about everything I went through. Because I ended up going with the pill, which is a pill that you take, and basically it just makes you bleed and makes you pass the baby. And it was the most difficult thing that I have gone through, because it was very emotional and physically draining. It was hard on me and hard on my husband, because my husband was there throughout the whole thing, and just, it was very hard. And like I said, if I had to go back, maybe I will have to go the other route, because you're physically seeing yourself just bleeding. And then I remember the day that I took it, I bled for like 3 hours nonstop, that I really thought I needed to go to the ER again, because it was nonstop bleeding. And I'm telling my husband, I don't think this is normal. This is too much blood. And the doctor has said if I went through like 2 pads or 4 pads in an hour, then it was too much, that I needed to go to the doctor. I went through like 5 pads and within like an hour. Like, it was just nonstop bleeding. Once I stopped bleeding, I remember I just laid in bed, and I finally fell asleep. And the following day, I went to the bathroom and I passed my baby. It came. I wasn't expecting this, because the doctor told me, oh, you're gonna see it bleeding and you're gonna see the tissue. No, I saw my baby. And it was so hard to see it just drop to the toilet, because I was, going to the bathroom when this happened. And my immediate thing to do was to grab it again. I didn't want it, but I just couldn't. It was super hard. And my husband's like, no, just relax, leave it. Like, I know that he was having so much strength for me, because I know it was hard seeing what I saw. After that, it was just physical recovery from that. Emotionally, I was sad. I was depressed. I was like, why is this happening to me? Like, God, I already went through my conceiving, thing, if you want to say, because for Victoria, I almost prayed 4 years for her. It was like I couldn't get pregnant, and then finally I got pregnant. So I'm like, God, why am I going through this? I already went through that with Victoria. Like, why do I have to go through this again? At no point did I feel angry at God, and I know it wasn't Him that did this. He wouldn't take life. He wouldn't take what you most want. A child, like, it's a blessing. At that moment, I didn't know what it was. So I blamed the doctors, which then later the doctor confirmed that no, you did get the shot. And even if you didn't, that's not the cause. So after having no one to blame, I was just like, God, like, I know that there's a reason that this happened. I know maybe it's not the right time. Maybe, like the doctor says, sometimes it's not right and the body just lets it go. But it was still hard, because it's my baby, like, I saw it. It was very tough. I cried a lot. I thought about the what ifs, and I was obedient to God, because as soon as I found out I had miscarried, I got off all social media. And I think it was needed for me to process and heal, because I'm still healing, but it helped me heal faster. Social media is full of people, obviously you want to display the best of your life. People getting pregnant, announcing baby showers, and that wasn't something that I needed at the moment. So I got off all social media platforms and just said, okay, God, I'm just gonna give you all my attention, and just help me through this, because it's really, really hard. I've never gone through this, and I hear, it's like once I started opening to people that I've told, that I had told that I was pregnant, they were like, for example, my neighbor, I had told her that we were pregnant early on, and she said, when I told her I miscarried, she's like, well, I went through a miscarriage too. And then I started hearing all these people around me that had miscarriages, and it's like, oh my God, it's so common. Like, I'm not the only one. And what really, really helped me through this time was, one, it was writing. Like, this is a journal that I started when I found out I was pregnant. I wrote to God and my prayers for the new baby, and I wrote when I went through the miscarriage, I went after, and everything that God has, given me visions and dreams that I've written in this book. That helped me a lot, and that helps me a lot in life. Like I love to write. I love to just pour my heart to God and pray and my feelings. That helped me a lot. Another thing that helped me overcome this was that obviously I was pregnant, so I had already gone into the apps and those Baby Center, for example. Baby Center is an app when you're pregnant, and it tells you the day, the growth of the baby, but it also has different chat rooms. And I remember going into Miscarriage chat room just to read about other women going through the same thing that I was going through, because yes, I had my friends, I had my family, but if you haven't gone through it, then you don't know how I feel, right? They could only be so compassionate and so understanding, but they don't really know what I feel or what I went through physically and emotionally. And I found this girl that we had miscarried almost the same week. The same thing, like she went through the same thing. She took the pills, the bleeding, everything. And it was like my pen pal. We would just write to each other, how do you feel? How do you this? And that really helped me a lot, because I knew she knew what I felt. She knew what I was going through. That helped me a lot. So we would just write to each other and keep each other, it's gonna be okay. And just hearing other stories and knowing that God is able to do it again is what motivates me. Like motivated me to okay, this is not the end. Like God has a plan. God has his timing. And I said, God, we prayed for Victoria for almost 4 years. You did it, and I know that you're gonna do it again. I just had peace throughout this whole thing. I had peace that God was going to do it again, and that this was not the end. That I had to just go through this. And I feel like even after I had the miscarriage, I had several dreams where I was telling my stories to several women, and and I was just telling them. So I know that God wanted me to tell my story. And if I could help one person to know that it's okay. It's hard. I know it's hard. I will say, take your time, process, heal. Don't think it's just like, it's a miscarriage. Everybody has one. It's common. It's nothing. It's, you could just keep going. No, there's people that take it hard. Like me, it was hard. It was a hard moment for me, and I just took my time just to process everything, to know that God will always be on my side. And unfortunately, this happened, and that I get to sit here and tell my story and know that God is going to do it again. God is going to do it again. That's my story. I look back, and I still don't know the why, but I know that everything the devil tries to take and use to hurt us, it's the same thing that God uses to glorify him and to praise him and to show us that he has something better for us. So I'm in a better place. I'm able to speak about it. If you guys saw me, I'm still crying because it still hurts. But I know that God is great, and I know that it's going to happen again. Leave it to God. Trust him. Know that he has a plan, and that he will do it. He will do it at his perfect time. He will do it. So I hope I encourage at least one person with my story, and God bless. If you want to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram at Mrs. Can Say. And I also have a YouTube channel that I'm going to start uploading. And it's called Pretty in Faith. It's gonna be down below for you who want to follow me and see my journey from here on. Thank you guys, and bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Dear Diaries, Her Story. Today's journey through faith and life's challenges is just one of many we'll explore together. If you've been inspired or touched by the story shared here, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing this podcast with someone you might know who needs a reminder of God's presence in their life. Remember, every story has the power to inspire, and yours could be next. Keep walking in faith, and until next time, This is Rosa B. Theoc reminding you to live your faith and share your story.